It's party time with the Fearful Avoidant Attachment for scenario number 2 for October's attachment styles and friends in the different scenarios. So here we go. You might not be the first one to jump into the spotlight, but you are going to be unforgettable. Maybe slightly a little bit enigmatic, mysterious, but unforgettable. Why? Because you are likely to make people feel really present, and you are not so much for the small talk, you dive right deep into the deep talk. You ask deep and thought-provoking questions, and your unique blend of both needing the closeness and the distance will likely make being so deeply present with other people feel a little lighter for them than with the AP and with the DA. But still, you are truly present with others. So as I said, you're not much for small talk. You thrive in the deep conversations. Unlike the AP, the anxiously preoccupied attachment, who might want to keep things at a small talk level to keep that comfortable and pleasantness. And unlike the dismissive avoidant attachment styles, who seek to keep vulnerability at a distance. You have high need for growth and understanding. You like learning things, and you like evolving and growing. Personal development might be right up your alley, and you also like engaging in those kind of conversations with others, even at a party. I mean, to you, that's fun. You might keep a lot about yourself private, and you might not even notice that you're not being as vulnerable as they think you are and as you think you are, because you might share a lot about yourself, but those things might not be things that are truly vulnerable for you. Still, your curiosity, your empathy, your understanding both people on both sides of the insecure attachment styles, the anxious and the more avoidant, because you are a mixture of both in a way, that can make people feel truly, truly seen, understood, valued, heard, mostly at your best. If you are leaning on one side more than the other, you can still make others feel a bit distant from being understood by you. So also known as the ambivalent attachment and also the disorganized attachment, all of these terms lead to this duality of needing closeness desperately and needing space desperately, and fearing vulnerability as well as fearing being abandoned. And this combination that's constantly in turmoil, sort of, not on a conscious level necessarily, depends on where you are and what situation. So at a party, that might not be exactly what's happening, although it can be very triggering for you to feel around a lot of people, and that can be a bit too much for you. You tend to have more, and I will talk in another scenario about this, you tend to have more insecurity going into the auto scripts. You might have more going into a party rather than after a party, or even during, well, kind of like all around, honestly. But you're also not afraid of the chaos, and you're not afraid of conflict because you're used to it. Not necessarily that your family had a lot of conflict. The chaos can come not so much from actual conflict and chaos in the family, but this, sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not there for your needs as a child when you're really dependent on them. So it creates this conflict of you're just swirling in this tornado. I put a tornado emoji in the caption below because it is this just disorienting. I don't know, am I going to get my needs met or not? Am I going to be liked? Am I going to be disliked in terms of a party event, right? And you might even subconsciously seek chaos and conflict. So in a party sense, this might look like maybe contradicting people or seeking conversations that are polarizing, like politics. You might be the devil's advocate, most likely, in conversations at a party. I laugh because I used to be so that. And sometimes you might even seek conflict, but this is more in friendship rather than at a party. But you might also see conflict as a means to figure out things, as a means to resolve disconnection, or standing up for yourself. It depends on what the dynamic is. You can be very harsh with boundaries. You tend to dismiss boundaries until it gets too much. So it doesn't have to be in one scenario, in one conversation at one party. It can be maybe you've attended multiple parties and it's built up that, you hear people talk about certain beliefs that you might question. You might feel they're unjust or unfair. It builds up to you like exploding or seeking that conflict and laying down that strong boundary in your mind by standing up for yourself, by speaking up, but it's likely that you're speaking up in a very aggressive, abrasive manner. But that's also because of all of this stuff going on inside of you leading up to that point. So you are intense. You are the most intense of everyone. Of all the attachment styles. But at the same time, the plus side of that is that people might find that very real. You don't shy away from conflict, you don't shy away from chaos, you don't shy away from agreeing when you agree. You're very curious, you're very present, you like to dig deep, and you do like to share as much as you know. You have intellectual conversations, you have emotional conversations, so you kind of represent humanity in a way. You don't shy away from being all the human. So this might make others feel a realness that's unmatched. Now on the flip side, you yo-yo. And this yo-yo comes from all of these conflicting needs and fears, the autopilot scripts in your mind. You struggle with huge fears of abandonment, but unlike the anxiously preoccupied attachment style, your approach might be to attack rather than sweet talk. Your approach might be to come at people, confront people. And I mean, you swing back and forth, but you're much more in that coming at the problem rather than sweet talk the problem. So at a party, you are not going to be necessarily the light and fun. You can, it depends on the dynamics. You're at a party where people are looking for light and fun and drinking and partying and all that stuff, and you might be more looking for a deep conversation, then you're not gonna be a great match. You can be, again, you're somewhat of a chameleon in a way, but still you are much more the deep and serious. So, and that's how you're going to be remembered most likely at a party. But in general, you're not concerned with people liking you. You could care less if people like you on the surface. On the fear side of things, your fears are, am I going to be betrayed? Am I going to be abandoned? Although this one is not so present, especially at a party, especially in circumstances, situations, relationships that are just getting started. And the yo-yo effect, am I going to not be good enough? Am I going to be too much? And you really swing between both of these. This kind of comfort with conflict and the seeking subconscious, or even sometimes in a way consciously thinking, oh, I need to stand up for myself and all that. This can come from a place of wanting to preserve that the vulnerable side, the inner you. If you have learned internal family systems, there's different parts of you that are trying to protect the inner child, and that can be a firefighter. It can be, you know, a part of you that is trying to not be seen because you don't really feel good enough. You feel like you will be too much or not enough. And so you're trying to sort of stand up for yourself, sometimes without people even getting why. And especially at a party, people will most likely not understand what made you, for lack of a better word right now, attacking them on different scales. It doesn't have to be a full-on blow up, but even just that devil's advocate, just the little sneaky comments. And to wrap this up, you might think that you're vulnerable. Again, when you think about, you know, at a party, you do like having those deep, serious conversations with people, going below the surface level. You like sharing about yourself, about your life. You like relating to people. You really do want to relate to people. However, are you truly sharing the very vulnerable things about you? Are you being that vulnerable, sweet person? Are you being that vulnerable person of having boundaries? Are you revealing those sides of you? Or are you just talking about things that as a society or other people might deem vulnerable because they're maybe taboo or not talked about? That's not necessarily vulnerability. And it might be that you're kind of testing the waters with vulnerability. It's not quite letting others see you. And you might think, well, it's a party. You're talking about light and fun and how I'm too deeply serious. You can still be all of those things and be vulnerable. All in all, you will be the enigma of the party. And you'll probably enjoy that. So stay tuned for the dismissive avoidant attachment style and the secure attachment style for this scenario number 2 at a party. Peace, love, and compassion, y'all, and differentiation. And for this one, I feel like the theme of this has been vulnerability, but I want to say have those deep conversations. Others will appreciate that, whether you know it or not.